Now at 6, a night of uncertainty for New York City as protesters hit the streets once again. And we start with that breaking news of the latest protests right now. I'm Natalie Pasquarello.
And I'm Stephen Holt. Chuck has the night off tonight. We'll start with a large groups of protesters demonstrating across the city, marching against racial injustice. Live pictures from Chopper 4 of what appears to be the biggest group we're seeing tonight. This is in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. Folks standing in the street there at Nostrand and Fulton gathered here holding signs and flags and kneeling at times. So far, things have remained peaceful.
And Stephen, in just about 5 hours, a curfew will go into effect in New York City from 11 tonight until 5 in the morning. This does not apply to essential workers, though. I want to get right out to News 4 investigative reporter Sarah Wallace, right in the middle of that crowd with what you're seeing right now. Sarah, how's it going?
Well, Natalie and Stephen, you have talked about it being peaceful. So far it has. You can see behind me thousands and thousands of people. We actually got here a couple of hours ago, and this crowd has grown exponentially since then. It started out at Fulton and Nostrand, about a block from where I'm standing. The protesters walked around the block, and then they came back here to York Avenue and Fulton, where they are now gathered. We've been listening to people on the loudspeaker talking about Black Lives Matter. They've been chanting, "No more black blood in the streets." And again, just a short time ago, there was this collective kneeling. All of the people that you see behind me kneeling down together as they were chanting. And it is quite a remarkable scene. So many people coming out at this point. Also, you also see right over here a number of community affairs police officers. We are told that tonight several thousand more officers are going to be on the street here in Brooklyn to keep the peace. There have been some violent clashes over the last couple of nights. They don't want there to be a repeat of that. There is an 11 p.m. curfew tonight as well. Unclear at this point as to whether or not the protesters will abide by that. But so far, again, you can see the crowd here, but very peaceful at this point. Not sure where they're going to go after this, if they're going to keep marching or if they will disperse. For now, live from Bed-Stuy, Sarah Wallace, News 4 New York.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much. An active group there in Brooklyn. Earlier, Chopper 4 caught these images of crowds winding through Manhattan. This group started in Times Square and made their way downtown. News 4's Chris Glorioso has been walking with the crowds all the way to Greenwich Village and to Washington Square Park. Chris, describe what you're seeing there.
Well, this appears to be after about a 2-hour march through Manhattan, as you say, from Times Square south. This appears to be a landing spot for this protest, with really hundreds and hundreds of people out here trying to continue to beat the drum that they want the world to know that they are out against police violence. And the protest at this point has been largely peaceful. We've seen police officers allow them to snake their way through the city to block traffic, and no real skirmishes. I think there's one report of a splinter group coming off of the protest and having some sort of scuffle with police. But for the most part, you continue to hear this message. And again, you can see how densely packed it is out here. Everyone out here is aware that we are in the middle of the coronavirus crisis, but they continue to tell us they believe this is a message that cannot wait until after the public health risks are gone. They have tried to keep a tone of positivity, trying to keep a tone of making sure that the world knows that they do not support a lot of the agitation and some of the violence that has happened in the evening times. This is a group that has stayed on the message against police violence. There has been really not even a single instance that we've seen with our own eyes of anyone being aggressive toward the police. Certainly there have been verbal jabs at police. A few moments ago, we stopped as we saw a group of protesters kneel down next to NYPD officers, and they continually chanted 9 minutes and 32 seconds, of course, referencing the lengthy period of time that Minnesota police had George Floyd under their knee. So obviously, this is a moment where they're taking a breath. There's likely to be some speakers, but I think that it's fair to say that this entire evening, this has been a protest that has focused on that political message, and it has not strayed into any of the violence, the fires, or the looting that we've seen at night. We will continue to watch this, and I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Chris, thank you. Keeping us posted there in Manhattan. Let's head to Mineola now. Protesters have been gathering for the past hour there. We've seen some more police presence as well. I want to go out to News 4's Paisy Chang live out there. Paisy, how's it looking there where you are?
Natalie, this is by far the largest protest that happened here on Long Island today. This is Mineola, right before the legislative building. You can see that there are some speakers right now, but there are tons of people here, hundreds of people, holding signs, decrying what happened to George Floyd. Messages, Black Lives Matter, enough is enough. Yep, Mike's going to pan over here so you can get a real idea of how many people are here. They've even closed off Franklin Avenue, which is a main drag here in Mineola, to accommodate all the demonstrators that are here. Now, for the most part, this is a very peaceful demonstration, and the police are here to ensure that there are no major incidents. Nassau police say they have increased their presence all across the county as they expect more demonstrations like this. There are some rumors that this group is going to be marching down to a different precinct or throughout Mineola. Right now, we don't have any information supporting that. The police say they are not prepared for that. They do not know that that is happening. And they also have concerns about a concerted attack on certain retail establishments at the Americana in Manhasset and Roosevelt Field Mall. This is something that they are keeping their eyes on, and many stores are boarding up their stores as a result of this. But, you know, there's a lot of tension here, just like there is across the country. But here in Nassau County, this is the first major gathering event that we have seen since the protests have begun. But that's the latest from Mineola. Back to you guys.
All right, Paisley, thanks so much for that look there. We want to get back to the NYPD now. They say in the last 24 hours they've arrested more than 350 people. That number likely to rise, though, in the coming hours. And the NYPD says they are doubling the amount of officers out on the streets. They're going to go from 4,000 to 8,000 tonight, Stefan.
The arrests not related to the peaceful protests, but related to the chaos coming in the wake of these demonstrations. This coming as Soho is cleaning up and shuttering up stores after a night of unrest and looting. News 4's Adam Cooperstein continue our team coverage this afternoon live with the latest on the situation there. Adam, what are you seeing?
Well, Stefan, all this destruction in Soho has become a bit of an attraction. You see windows like this smashed up all over the place, Lululemon over here, and then there's people stopping, taking photos everywhere you turn, as now businesses try to figure out how they're going to take different measures to stop more looting tonight. The cobblestone streets and designer shops of Soho drawing a crowd today. The attraction, the aftermath of a protest turned violent.
It's so sad that this is happening to all the businesses.
When the lights went down on Broadway in Soho last night, looters replaced protesters. Our cameras captured scores of young people emptying out high-end brand-name stores and using getaway cars. This surveillance video shows one of them clipping an officer. The NYPD says the looters targeted the pricey neighborhood, calling it an organized effort to create mayhem, using the protest as cover.
We're unfortunately exploiting the George Floyd movement.
People already look at minorities and like black people as like these like savage people, and it's like you do not want to egg that on. If anything, these peaceful protests will get us a lot further.
SABRINA Horsford is hoping looters will leave her minority-owned restaurant alone tonight, so she wrote him a message on the storefront.
I just hope that it helps. You know, we can't help if they loot us, but you know, they can at least know we stand with them. So
the mayor says the city will be very aggressive if there's more looting tonight, doubling the police presence. And with the city on edge, Midtown's iconic stores also boarding up today.
The looting and those things will play right into their hands, because this will all become about looters now.
Most of the businesses here in Soho already boarded up, like this one behind me. And the NYPD says a lot of examples actually of protesters yesterday stepping in, stopping the looting. But if that doesn't work out, look what's happening across the street at Nike. They've got security out there guarding to protect against more looters tonight. Right now, still calm out here, but it's still light out here as well. See what happens. Reporting live in Soho, Adam Cooperstein, News 4 New York.
All right, Adam, thank you. We will wait and see. In the meantime, President Trump has lashed out at governors of states dealing with violent protests and looting. A source who was on the teleconference call today told NBC News that the president called the governors, quote, weak, and urged them to crack down on protesters and make more arrests. Sources also say the president told the governors to, quote, dominate, and called the initial protests in Minnesota weak and pathetic. Some state leaders, including the governor of Illinois, pushed back and accused the president of lacking national leadership and divisive rhetoric. A memorial to George Floyd now stands in front of Newark Police Headquarters. Today, police chiefs from across Essex County laid carnations there at the base of an easel holding up a blown-up picture of Floyd and invited the public to add to this memorial. The chiefs also said that restraining a suspect by the neck is an illegal use of deadly force, and they took a knee in unison to honor Floyd's memory.
In Connecticut, protesters marched to Hartford's police headquarters today, and they continued on to City Hall. One organizer said his message to the marchers is to make people feel uncomfortable. He also said peaceful protests don't create social change. Hartford's mayor disagrees. He says he hopes all of his constituents can work together to make a difference and, in his words, move things forward.